Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special edition of the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show, the 2026 CONCACAF Champions League Round 1 MLS review show for the second leg matches. My name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you for joining me tonight. And don't forget, you can always go to Beyond the 90 at beyondthe90.net or on substack.com. And of course, locally on New York Soccer on baddogsports.com. Come on in and discuss amongst yourselves if you like. The chat room is open here on YouTube. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to your daily American soccer content here on the Feuerstein's Fire American Soccer Show. What did we expect in this second leg? In reality, not much. We all know the MLS clubs are better, bigger, stronger than these clubs in the Caribbean, some of these smaller clubs in the Central American zone, even though there are still hard-fought clubs in Central America that, they're always going to try and one-up on the MLS sides. And, they did so. And they tried, but they failed. They failed. And not to say I'm poo-pooing them, because the truth is that, look, they earned their spots in this competition. They earned their right to be involved in the competition for the championship, the club championship in CONCACAF. Whether they come from the North Zone, which is MLS in the United States and Canada, and the Canadian Premier League in Canada, also Liga MX in Mexico. It's those other clubs in Central America and the Caribbean that are going to try and put on their best work to try to knock out the top clubs in Major League Soccer, in Liga MX, so that they can find a way to advance into the next round. Now, obviously, it's not fair. And while it's not fair because the financial resources are not where they should be for these clubs in the other two zones in CONCACAF. And look, I'm not here to treat them like garbage. I'm not here to treat them like they're the stepchild of the region, of the Confederation. But still, they deserve some respect because they qualified for the tournament. They came in, they qualified for the tournament, and they deserve some respect to being there. Now, obviously, when you go to UEFA and watch their Champions League, you have clubs that are not playing the same season as the rest of Europe are. And those countries come from Scandinavia, Sweden, Finland, Norway. I believe Denmark is a part of it, but I could be wrong. I could be wrong about that. But obviously, those are the three of the four Scandinavian countries that I am aware of, that they must play their league seasons in the summertime, from spring into winter or into the fall. But because they qualify for the UEFA Champions League, they got to play games when there's no league season, and that's in the Champions League. And right now, they're on a run. I mean, you defeated Manchester City. You took out, in the round of 32, Inter Milan. And, I haven't seen the draw yet, so I don't want anyone to ruin it for me. I have not seen the draw for the round of 16. But Bodo Glimt of Norway, of the first division in Norway, is on a run. Now, can it happen here in CONCACAF? There has been clubs in the Central American zone, maybe one club in the Caribbean zone that have had those moments. That they didn't last long, but they went to at least the next round in the Champions Cup. And back in the day, the football in the Caribbean was just as good as it is these days in MLS. But unfortunately now in Trinidad and Tobago, in the Dominican Republic, all these other islands in the Caribbean, their clubs are not strong because they're not strong, and their facilities are not strong. So they're never going to get players from the United States, from England, from anywhere in Europe, anywhere in South America, anywhere in Mexico, or in Africa, or in Asia. They're never going to get those players. And that is why they always get either homegrowns or they get those national team stars who do play abroad, and then they come back to play for their clubs back at home. It's not that, they're going to get destroyed because it's target practice or, oh, it's so easy. They get destroyed because their level of football is not where it should be. It's not. And I only say this not to criticize, not to go out there and say, ha ha, look at you, ha ha, look at you. I don't do that. That's the reality of the football in the Caribbean. And, CONCACAF, there's only so much they can do. There's only so much they can do to give those clubs that opportunity to be in the Champions Cup. And then if they're able to make a run, then God bless them, so be it. But if they're going to get destroyed 5-0, 7-0, 10-0, 20-0, it's going to happen. You just cannot deny this will happen. And then you get unwanted comments, unwanted posts on social media calling these clubs amateurs, calling them semi-professional. No, they are professional clubs. Where they are financially and with the stadium situations, they can't host the games. They cannot host the games in their own stadiums. They have to go to the national team stadiums where it's more sturdy. The capacity is better because all you get basically is a rundown stadium that will never be refurbished, that will remain the way it is. I mean, honestly, I feel bad for those nations, those islands in the Caribbean of CONCACAF, and for some of them in Central America, that you can't go to their home stadiums and play those games. In Costa Rica, you can go to the home stadium of Deportivo Saprissa. You can go to the home stadium of LD Aluenza. Probably in Honduras, you can go to the stadium for Club Olimpia or Motagua. But, everywhere else, you got to go and play in the national stadium because those stadiums are meant for big games for the national team, but even for international games, you can play there too. I don't even know if all the other stadiums in Costa Rica are CONCACAF compliant. And this is where I wish CONCACAF would step in, and I know they can't assist all the way, but if they can find some way to give special finances and build a new stadium for these national teams, or for to help a club team if possible, which I know it won't happen. I just wish it could happen. I wish it can happen, but let's be honest, it will never happen. And they got to come up with the money to finance a brand new stadium so that they can host international competition in, when it's the CONCACAF Champions Cup, or at least a secondary stadium in that country to say, maybe we can host a Gold Cup. But until then, it's not going to happen. And look, I feel bad for those teams. I feel bad for how, they can't find a way to move on. And that's why we have to make sure this confederation grows and gets better. But, this is the reality of the situation. CONCACAF, unfortunately, every single year it's in the United States. I wish they could do a rotation throughout all three zones, but right now you can't. I mean, I think El Salvador has now 2 official stadiums that can do national team games. I know the Cuscatalan, and I know they were building a brand new one, which I think it's already done. I have to double check on that, but I know that they were building a second stadium to make it bigger and better for their national team to be playing in these games. And who knows, maybe El Salvador can host a Gold Cup. But until then, it's always going to be in the United States and occasionally in Canada for one home match for the Canadian men's national team. But, this confederation needs to continue and to improve. And while on the national team level, it has been improving, and all you can do is just sit back, watch, wait, and see. But until everything is improved and getting better, not just on the pitch, but construction of pitches, or it's going to be as is. And at the same time, I feel, like I said, I feel bad for these teams who are getting ridiculed on social media. These are professional clubs. These are professional sides. It's a shame they don't make more money. It's a shame that they cannot improve themselves. And especially, Defense Force. Back in the day, they won 2 CONCACAF Club Championships. Now, obviously, they're not at the level now where they were before. And that's a shame. But there's nothing you can do about it. And I understand completely. Look, like I said, I understand. And it makes no sense to come out there and say, I can't believe these MLS clubs are beating up on an amateur team or a semi-pro team. They're professionals. Show them respect. They qualified through the Central American Cup and the Caribbean Cup of CONCACAF to earn their spots. And it makes me annoyed that, I have to come on here and I have to defend these teams. Why do I have to defend these teams? Because it's not right. It's not right. What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? They earned their spot. It's up to them to take on the best of the best, and it's up to them to try and outsmart them. But obviously, they can't. They can't do it. And until things change for those clubs and their FAs improve themselves, it's going to be the same old, same old. It's going to happen. If one of them starts to get on a run and does the impossible, well, hey, congratulations to them. But unfortunately, this situation, what are you going to do? They're going to take it. And, pardon my language here, but they're going to take it up the backside. And they're going to get those score lines. You're going to get the 9-0s, the 10-0s, the 5-0s, the 7-0s. You know, you're going to get the 7-ups. And look, all I can say is that I give them credit for battling against these MLS clubs, because the truth is this: if these clubs in the Caribbean were going to face the other clubs in Mexico from Liga MX, it's going to be the same thing. Forget about what MLS clubs are going to do. Forget about that. What are these Liga MX clubs are going to do? They're going to do what the MLS clubs will do. They're going to professionally take them to the woodshed and destroy them. They're going to pick them apart. Now, the goalkeeper may have a blinder, but there's only so much he can do. And all I can say is, congratulations, you tried your best. That's all there is, and it's possible. Ladies and gentlemen, great show for you tonight. Joining me tonight, he is the head writer and the master of Philadelphia Soccer Now, my good friend, my colleague, Matt Ralph, joining me tonight. Matt, welcome to the show. First time in 2020. Hope you and your family are well. And how are you, sir?
Good to be here. Good to be talking about soccer again.
Absolutely, it's always a fun time to have you on, Matt. Philadelphia Union. Look, I mean, O&M FC, I think, or was that Defense Force? Excuse me, Defense Force. I mean, look, let's be honest. Obviously, it wasn't much of a contest. We knew the Union were going to take them to the woodshed and just destroy them left and right. But even though it's not really vindictive of the Union, what they're going to face in an MLS regular season, how did you feel about their performance from start to finish?
Well, I mean, obviously they got 12 goals, so plenty of goals. I think starting off in Trinidad and Tobago was, not an easy way to start the season. A long travel, playing there in an empty stadium, then coming back home playing in an empty stadium. I mean, it was, it kind of didn't feel like there was a lot in from a competitive side of things, but there were still some things to overcome. And I think from a standpoint of personnel, Carnell used most of his team, really. So I think there are definitely some positives and takeaways in terms of getting. I mean, you look at that score sheet there, and there's one name on there that was on a score sheet last year. So and that was Jovan Lukic, who got the deflected penalty and got the deflected assist on the goal from Martinez. So yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely positives to take away, but hard to really get too excited one way or another about what they were able to do against a team that was that did better at home, didn't maybe have the same level of team that was able to get into the U.S. and losing Jones on the red card late in the first leg. So it's hard to draw too many conclusions, but certainly, definitely, it's always good to get some younger players, some different players, some minutes, and that certainly happened last night.
No, absolutely. Talk about your young phenom, Stas Korzanowski. I saw him last year in the playoffs for Philly 2 against Red Bull 2 over in the semifinals of the MLS Next Pro playoffs. What a talent he is. It's amazing how he's able to find the net and puts the ball in regularly. Is he the future for the club right now at the striker position?
I wouldn't say he's necessarily the future, but I think he had a good rookie season out of Penn last year, playing in Union 2. It's not uncommon for a Union 2 striker to score a bunch of goals. Like, we've seen that before. I think the next step for him is really going to be if he can finish the way he finished last night. If he can hold the ball up the way he held the ball up last night against better competition, I think he could really slot in well in that third striker position. But yeah, definitely a good performance from him particularly in the first half. I thought just how confident he was in that strike. You could see the difference in terms of, again, I mean, I don't know where Defense Force what their equivalent would be to an American soccer team. Definitely not an MLS team. Maybe somewhere in USL or USL 1. You had their early, they get a chance, and the guy, I joked, 10 minutes later, he's still lining up that shot. Like, it's like he had a chance to take a shot and just completely, forgot that, there's a defender that's going to be coming in and taking that ball from you. If you don't take it early, he did the opposite of that, took the shot early, took the chance. I don't know that we got an angle to see, like, could the goalkeeper have done better on it? Probably. But yeah, just a really confident finish. And that's what you want to see. Chris Donovan was someone who kind of made a similar jump before, scoring in Union 2, gets to the first team, did score a big goal in Champions League. But, one of the things, I think one of the knocks on him was just not having that clinical ability in front of goal, and that's what you saw in Stas in that finish. And I think that's regardless of who you're playing against, if you can do that, that bodes well for sure.
No, absolutely. Obviously, Kevin Sullivan gets in that opportunity to get 2 goals in this match. Is this finally the year where he can play more minutes? Because we all know of a certain age limit for the workforce, if you know what I mean. Is he finally going to get that opportunity to play more minutes coming off the bench or as a starter this year for the Union?
Yeah, he's definitely going to get more minutes, and I think the key for him is to not. I was saying this before, that he needs to play within himself. Last night, he got the goals. He was trying. You could tell he really wanted to score. The game was really kind of gone at that point. He was able to find a goal on some really good defensive play from Malik in his first team debut, and also from Ezekiel to really set up a gift of a goal. And then, he starts to run down the right and finishes off with a tap in. So I mean, there's definitely a lot of positive coming from him, but also still a long way to go. When you see some of the play where maybe he should pass instead of shoot, or he shoots, he passes when maybe he should shoot. So there's still a lot of, in terms of the decision making, that he needs more time at a higher level. We've talked before about the jump from Union 2 to Union, and I think the more minutes he gets, the more he's gonna feel confident. But at the same time, he is also he turns 17 in September, so there's not really there doesn't need to be a rush on that. I think the hype train has preceded him doing anything, and I think unfortunately the way the hype machine works, it's now we've moved on to who else is going to play that's young, right? So he's almost like at the 19-year-old stage now at 16. So because people have been talking about him for so long, but yeah, I mean, he's definitely going to get more minutes. It's a matter for him of finding ways to contribute, and for fans to say, like, hey, he's still 16. He's gonna have some good moments. He's gonna have some not so good moments, and it's all part of it. And ultimately, the team's not going to win an MLS Cup based on whether he plays or not. Like, that's he's not at that stage where he has to be on the field for him to win. But I think the more he can take part in what they're doing and improve his ability on the field against actual top flight professionals, I think it's going to benefit him in the long run.
No, absolutely. Some of the surprises I felt for the Union this year, away from the Champions Cup situation, no more Glesnes, no more Norwegian Hammer. I call him Norwegian Hammer because of his long distance rips. That I don't know how he hits the back of the net from that far of a distance, but he does it regularly. No more Kai Wagner, and no more Ty Baribo. And, I mean, look, Ben Bender's a very good pickup. I'm not going to poo-poo that one. I think picking him up from Charlotte is a damn good selection on the free agent market. But what are some concerns with this MLS side going in the regular season right now?
Well, right now it's injuries. They're definitely facing issues with injuries. Frankie picked up a knock. Jovan hasn't been 100% yet, fully fit. There's the young guy Finn who had an awful first half playing left back. He's out. So injury concerns right from the start. I think still just chemistry is going to be an issue. And I've been saying this since Kai Wagner officially left, that you can't expect to lose a Kai Wagner and a Jacob Glesnes and a Ty Baribo and a Mikel Ula and just to continue on like nothing changed. Obviously it's the start of the season. They have plenty of time to gel. Preseason was sort of mixed, and you expect that. And I think the first game at DC, like, I don't bet on anything, but I would have bet money if I did on Ty Baribo scoring in that game. So, you're not too concerned about that because that's what Ty Baribo does. And, they paid significant amount of money to get him. So, it made sense. It's unfortunate that the Union didn't put up the money to keep him. But, there's questions about Bruno Damiani. What's he going to be in year 2? You assume he's going to be better. There's not a lot of questions about Ezekiel, honestly, other than, him, whatever it was he said to get the red card. And he's looked solid, and the center backs are going to have to work that out, right? Macania is, had a great season starting last year, and his days might be numbered at this point going forward. So, they have 2 new center backs that, there's been some good things, and there's been some question marks around them too. So I think it's going to be, really trying to work out. And then the new left back who was announced today, I think it's too much to expect that he's going to replace Kai Wagner, because I don't think Kai Wagner is replaceable, at least not by someone who's 20, even if he is really, really good. I mean, I'm hoping that he does well and he's a natural left back, and they need that, but it's going to take some time. And I think this team, it's okay for it to take time, because at this point, I don't know how much what another supporter shield would mean. They need to make a run in the MLS Cup, and you really just need to play the playoffs and get hot at the right time of the season to do that. So I think they're in a position to, as the season progresses, and they gel to get better. I don't think they're going to be a finished product in the first couple months.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, Matt, we all know the next opponent for the Philadelphia Union will be Club America, playing down in Mexico City. I don't know if they've moved back into the Azteca yet. I think there might be some finishing touches before the World Cup begins at the Azteca. But, one of the top clubs in all of Liga MX. Have you faced them yet in international competition or in Leagues Cup, or this is the first time?
No, previously in the yeah. This will be the second.
Yeah. So, what are you expecting? Of course, we all know Zendejas, the American international, is on Club America, and he'll always be challenging. That's for sure. A challenging player against anyone in the Mexican top flight or in this type of competition. What are you expecting out of Club America now coming up very soon for that round of 16?
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to have the game, the first leg here. The last time the 2 teams met, Subaru Park felt like a road game. So it was packed with Club America fans. There was a super unfortunate incident that happened in South Philly after that game. Some fans wearing Club America gear, beat up somebody. I believe the person died. It was a really awful incident that happened the last time. Obviously related to the gameplay, but it really was. It was weird to be there and to feel like it wasn't a home game. So I think Club America's support, particularly in the United States and North America, across North America, is makes them a tough team to play, because you're gonna face tremendous crowd support for the other team. So and you expect them to be good. Maybe they're not maybe not the best that they've been in history, but they're still going to be a really tough opponent. And I think it's going to be definitely a test. You sometimes worry about the psyche of a team that beats someone 12-0. Is there going to be a little bit of overconfidence, concern about leveling up to the competition after playing, like I said, something a fixture that kind of felt like a preseason match with not many fans in either stadium, to two full stadiums with Club America fans screaming at you. So I think it's going to be a bit of a challenge in that respect, and that's what you want. You want you want good crowds, you want close games, you want you don't want, what was it, 13-0 or whatever for Cincinnati, and 12-0 for the Union. So I think it's going to be a big challenge, but it's one where if they can hang in and heck pull off a little bit of an upset, I think it bodes well for them. And again, for them, solidifying what this team is. It's really, I think in a lot of ways, they're an open book at this point, right? When you don't have a team where you lose a lot of players, where you have a team and you lose a lot of players, it's up to this group to sort of to define who they're going to be. And I think, challenging against Club America, this part of the this part of the calendar could be win or lose. I think will be good for that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, we'll see what happens, but like you already know this, they're a tough side, and most of those fans are coming from New York. I know that there's a big New York Club America contingency in New York City and in northern New Jersey. So I know exactly what you're going to be going through. There's going to be a lot of yellow jerseys in those seats. That's for sure. Matt, as always, I always appreciate your time. Thanks again. Hope you and your family are well, and hope to talk to you again soon. You have a good night.
Yep, you too. Thanks.
Always a pleasure as well. Thanks, Matt. Matt Ralph, Philadelphia Soccer Now, talking about the Union and their matchup against Defense Force of Trinidad and Tobago. And now they're going to take on Club America in the round of 16 of the 2026 CONCACAF Champions Cup. Now we're going to look at some other scores here. Nashville taking on Atletico Ottawa, and it was basically a 5-0 destruction in the second leg. Goals from Alex Muwil, Jordan Knight, Wubens Pakis, again, Jack Mayer and Ahmed Kazim as they take out Atletico Ottawa, and it was 7-0 on aggregate to make this one done and dusted. So that would be the end of that one. Moving on into the next matchup, and believe that Nashville, I could be wrong, but I want to make sure, they're going to be taking on Inter Miami in the round of 16. So we'll have MLS versus MLS in one of the round of 16 matchups, just like we're going to have Mexico versus Mexico. Cruz Azul will be taking on Monterrey. So that, my friends, is going to be something special. That is going to be interesting. And we can't wait and see what will happen. and we've got some more action coming in here for CONCACAF Champions League. Now, let's go to this big one, and that will be the Los Angeles Galaxy as they took on Sporting San Miguelito. No goals in the second leg, but because it was a 1-1 draw in the first leg and the LA Galaxy getting the away goal, they advance to the round of 16. No goals, but some cards late in the match. It looked like it would be a clean match until the cards came out. Angel James gets his yellow in the 89th minute, and Mateus Nascimento in second half stoppage time gets the red card, sent off. So he'll be suspended for the first leg in the round of 16. And Sergio Ramirez of Sporting San Miguelito, that was also his yellow card in the 90th minute in the second half stoppage time. So that, my friends, is done and dusted right there. So, look, away goals were taken away by UEFA, and they were also taken away, I believe, from, I think, either Asia or Africa. But CONCACAF still needs it, and I understand why they want to use it. More intrigue in these tournament games for the club side. And, I mean, look, if you want to call it ancient, that's fine. That's okay. Call it ancient all you want. Fine by me. I mean, look, normally you'd like to get rid of it, but I mean, it's a situation where it's never going to get taken away. And for the LA Galaxy, for their second round matchup, should I say for their round of 16 matchup, I should say, they're going to take on the Caribbean Cup champions from Jamaica, Mount Pleasant FC. So that's going to be a big matchup. Well, probably not, but usually Jamaican sides, there's some fight and there's some grit there. And they'll probably have their matches at the office in the National Stadium in Kingston. So this should be a fun one. This should be exciting to watch. And I cannot wait to see what will happen there. The next matchup we're going to discuss real quickly, and that will be with the Vancouver Whitecaps as they took on Club Sport Cartagenas. And while it was a scoreless draw in the first leg, 2-0 victory in the second leg for the Whitecaps. And on aggregate, once again, the aggregate means nothing. It would have been away goals if the match was tied, because then away goals would have basically put Cartagenas in unless they scored in Vancouver and they stopped the Whitecaps from getting anything in the penalty, in the second leg of the first round. So Brian White had a penalty opportunity and it was stopped. And then in the 58th minute, Kenji Cabrera makes it 1-0. Sebastian Berhalter scores in the 80th minute to make it 2-0. They're pretty much in the driver's seat. Still a little uncomfortable because you never know if Cartagenas was going to get any other goals in this matchup. But for the Whitecaps, they're able to move on. They're able to move on to the next round. And for Vancouver, their next opponent will be, dare I say it, a Cascadia matchup against the Seattle Sounders, the League's Cup champions. So for the Whitecaps, it will be familiar territory, familiar faces. You play them in the regular season. You're going to play them now in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. Oh, how the spider's web gets spun. Twists and turns. You never know what you're going to get in the CONCACAF Champions Cup and who you will face. This is the fun part. And now we're going to see what will happen in the round of 16. And this should be exciting and this should be a lot of fun. Everyone's going to see what these two clubs are going to be about. in a higher competition, and it'll be a better competition. So we'll see what's going to happen here. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I cannot wait to watch what will happen here. Joining me right now, he does write for FC Cincinnati over at Area Sports Network, and he also covers Asian football for Bad Dog Sports. My good friend Kenta Hagiwara rejoining me for that second leg matchup. I don't know if I should call it a matchup, Kenta. I'll just call it sent to the woodshed and never left.
Yeah, it was quite the match, wasn't it? I don't know if you just caught the match or you just got notifications repeatedly on your phone through a 2-hour stretch from that match, but it's a bit one-sided.
One-sided is being kind. Just an absolute destruction from FC Cincinnati. And look, O&M, I've said this in my intro monologue. Look, the Dominican Republic, while obviously their club football is not at the level where it should be, their national team has improved. Without a doubt, their national team has improved. We've seen it in the Nations League Group B for qualifying for the Gold Cup. They were never out of it. They always challenged their Group B opponents in the Gold Cup last summer. And, look, I'm expecting more from their national team, but on the club side, it's not really a contest, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a full-strength lineup by Cincinnati, but, the final score was not exactly a close match. I thought there were moments where O&M were in the match, but those were seconds within a 90-minute match. It was very, very one-sided. I know the coach after the match spoke to us, and he had mentioned the fact that he only had 14 outfield players available due to some visa restrictions, and that's obviously something that CONCACAF needs to get sorted out better for this competition. I know Cincinnati had some players in the away fixture last week that didn't travel due to some visa issues when the team would have eventually come back to the States. So obviously that's not ideal, but I'm not sure that was a factor in the fact that your team ultimately lost so one-sidedly in Cincinnati. But look, it was a really cool opportunity for a lot of the younger players for Cincinnati to be able to play first team minutes for first-time goal scorers for the first team for FC Cincinnati in that match. So there's I guess some positives to draw from the MLS side, and hopefully it's a good experience for O&M, and they can kind of take from that and apply it to their domestic league. There's not a lot to talk about ultimately, is there, with that kind of match?
I'll put it up, but still, though, I mean, 9-0 in the second leg is unbelievable. And look, when you got a guy, from O&M putting the ball in the back of his own net, it's a long night for that side, because there's no way they're going to survive from that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a really unfortunate one too. It's just one of those corner kicks that comes in swinging, and you have a player on the far post heading it towards goal, and it just goes right into the back of the net off of a defender. So it's just unlucky, sure, but at the same time, the other 8 goals would tell you this was not a result beside the bad luck.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely, it's not. Talk about Kenji Mboma Dem. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Since I'm assuming, is he from the academy or was he transferred over?
Kenji was the MLS Super Draft pick back in 2024 out of the University of Dayton. So he's a local product in that sense. He's played his college ball in the area, but he's he's played a lot of minutes for the second team, got the first team contract, I think, last summer, so summer 2025. And he played a lot of his college ball and also for FC Cincinnati too as the number 10. Obviously, FC Cincinnati has a lot of talent at the number 10 position, Evander, and now the young Gerardo Dada Valenzuela getting regular minutes at the 10. So that position's a bit clogged up. And he started the match and played the entirety of the match when he played as a left wing back for Cincinnati. He talked about kind of how difficult that transition was, but I think a match like the one that we saw on Wednesday was the perfect opportunity for him to play because there's not a ton of defensive responsibility from that left wing back position. He has 3 center backs covering on behind him, and when we were able to dominate the ball as much as Cincinnati were, you can have a player that's very progressive with the ball and can take those chances in the attacking phase of play at those wing back positions. And you saw it from Kenji. 2 goals and an assist. I thought he played brilliantly. If you watch the second goal, he takes it from the left side around the top of the box, just cuts in, shoots, and beats the goalkeeper with his weaker right foot towards the near post. It was, a brilliant performance by him, and I think it was just very impressive.
No, it really is. And I mean, I've seen some of the highlights, watching it either on CONCACAF's website or through YouTube. I mean, some of those goals were just brilliantly placed, I believe, in the second half. I mean, probably that was Dem when he bent that ball from the near side of the area, and then somehow he gets it inside the far post. That was just an amazing shot. I could not believe what I saw. I mean, those are definitely highlights. Of course, you want some more, but then the other side is going, I beg of you to stop, please.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely could have made it more. I'm not sure if that's being realistic or if that's just being very very arrogant. But I thought a lot of the young players played very, very well. 60th minute goal scorer there, Steven Jimenez, was one of the youngest debutants when he debuted for FC Cincinnati's senior team back in 2023 as a 15-year-old. So we've been talking about this guy being a young player for the team for, this is like year number 4. He's gone through high school. At this point, he's an 18-year-old, still very young. He scored his first goal for the first team, and I thought he looked terrific. Even early in the match, I commented on it over on X that he had this Trivela through ball in like the 10th minute of a match, still scoreless, by the way, at that time, through to Tom Barlow, and it's really good to see some of the young players be so confident on the ball, and it's not like a level of arrogance because he's executing it well, and there's level of poise and like composure on the ball that you don't necessarily always get to see from younger players. And the only chance you really get to see it is in a match like this where maybe the result doesn't matter as much and it's more about letting the top, the young players have an opportunity to play with some of the senior players in a competitive standpoint where you're not playing against more players from the same organization.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Tom Barlow, actually, second consecutive goal in the Champions Cup, got the first one in the first leg. Surprised to see him being a little clinical in the front.
And I'm not entirely sure if we'd call it clinical. I thought he missed a couple of chances early on. He eventually gets the goal. The goal he took was really well taken. I think it was a through ball by Anunga or someone just down the middle, and he was just able to dink it past the goalkeeper. Yeah, I mean, you always want, whenever your striker is playing, regardless of competition, you want them finding the back of the net because that kind of form is kind of irreplaceable in terms of confidence, and that's all you really want from, I think, a striker. You can have all the he's great in the box, he has great hold up play, but at the end of the day, if you have a striker on form, that's the most crucial thing you can have from the position of that type of player. So it's good to see him find the back of the net, and ultimately that's the biggest thing, right, with the strikers. Can they find the back of the net? So
yep. No, that's great. And once again, I guess it's really not a surprise. You're going to take on Tigres in the round of 16. I mean, obviously, it doesn't matter who you play against in Mexico. They're always going to be a tough matchup. What are you expecting from Tigres, though, this season? Same old, or maybe you got enough, possibly a trick up Noonan's sleeve?
I hope it's different from last year. The two teams faced off in the CONCACAF Champions Cup last year. Cincinnati lost, I think, 4-2 on aggregate. They drew at home in the first leg, and they'll play each other at TKO Stadium to start the home and away in the first leg. So it'll be the same setup in terms of matchups here. You'd expect a better result than I think a 1-1. Just knowing how difficult it'll be to go into Monterrey and play against against Tigres on the road for the second leg. So we'll see what that leg looks like. I know when asked about it after this match, he was more focused on the Minnesota match of the weekend. So I don't know how much we'll get out of that until we get closer to the start of that first leg. But yeah, very, very competitive series ahead. Very physical teams, I think, on both ends, and teams that like to be very aggressive in terms of going forward. So maybe a lot of goals scored too, which is always fun to see as a neutral.
Absolutely, it really will be, and can't wait to see what will happen there. But other than that, I will talk to you again soon. I want to say thanks a lot for joining me as always, and hope let's see what Cincinnati does against Tigres, and we'll see what they do in their next matchup in the MLS regular season. I'll talk to you soon.
Yep, sounds good.
All right. That's Kenta Hagiwara from Area Sportsnet talking about FC Cincinnati playing against O&M FC, and they really took them to the woodshed. And we'll see what happens moving forward. And finally, of course, LAFC taking on Real España. Nothing much, really. Look, one goal, that was it. Defense the rest of the way. Nikosi Tafari just puts it away. España trying to get an away goal, could not score it in the 90th minute, as it was a big save, and they just move on. So, and LAFC now will be facing, LAFC will now be facing, trying to see who it is real quick. Yes, Aluenza from Costa Rica. So it should be exciting. It should be a lot of fun. Can't wait to see what's going to happen. And everything will be done in March for the first two legs. And we'll get more information for you later on. But tonight I want to thank my guests. I want to thank Matt Ralph from Philadelphia Soccer Now. And I also want to thank Kenta Hagiwara from Area Sportsnet. My name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight. I hope all of you are enjoying the show and enjoyed the CONCACAF Champions Cup Round 1 second leg MLS review. Once again, my name is Daniel Feuerstein. Thank you very much for watching me tonight. And as always, please, 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 please enjoy your football. Thank you. Have a good night. Take care. So long. And bye-bye for now. Have a good night, everybody.